Yes, so these products, they are taken to the developing regions. But now, let me stress one point when it comes to translocation. Like we have said that the plant during photosynthesis, the major product during photosynthesis is glucose. Now, glucose has two properties. One, glucose is highly soluble. So one, it is highly soluble. Two, glucose is highly reactive. Highly reactive. So because of these two properties of glucose, glucose is not a suitable substance to be translocated within the plant. It is not a suitable compound to be carried from one part of the plant to the other, because as it moves through the plant, it will react. Now, so because of that, glucose is normally converted to sucrose. And then it is the sucrose that is translocated to the various parts of the plant. When sucrose has been taken to the different parts, after maybe reaching the seeds where it is supposed to be stored, then that sucrose will be converted back to glucose, and then glucose will finally be converted back to starch for storage. So we are saying that during photosynthesis, the plant makes organic substances. The plant makes organic substances, and one of the organic substances is glucose. So glucose cannot be transported directly because it is highly soluble and highly reactive. So what happens? It is converted to sucrose. The sucrose is then taken to the different parts of the plant: seeds, flowers, roots, stems, leaves, and then reaching there, it is converted to glucose. After being converted to glucose, then that glucose will finally be converted back to starch, and it is stored. That's why when you take seeds like maize, beans, you are taking starch. Now, move on. Another area where the organic compounds produced during photosynthesis are taken within the plant are the storage organs. Storage organs are things like bulbs, like in onions. We have things like seeds, rhizomes, and combs. And finally, some are taken to the secretory organs, e.g. the nectary glands, the nectars. So some are taken to the nectars, where they are utilized in producing the sweet smelling substances that attracts insects. Now, the next thing we are going to look at is the structure of the phloem. Phloem, unlike the xylem, phloem is a living tissue. It is a living tissue, while the xylem is made up of dead cells. And the phloem is composed of one, the sieve tubes, or you can call them sieve tube elements. Two, the companion cells. And then three, the phloem fibers. And then four, parenchyma cells. Those are the four substances that make up the phloem. I want us to study this diagram of the structure of the phloem. So if you look at the structure of the phloem, we have something like a tube. So this one is a sieve tube. One sieve tube On top of it, there is another sieve tube. Down here, we have another sieve tube. And these sieve tubes are separated by plates. You call them sieve plates. So it is like a tube. It is like a tube, but it is not continuous. We have plates in between. So this is a sieve tube element. And this is a sieve plate. Now these sieve plates are perforated. Because remember, for a substance to move from one sieve tube to the next sieve tube, it must pass through sieve plate. For those substances to pass through, this thing must be porous, permeable. It must be porous, having small holes to allow substances to pass through. So we have that. So now, the sieve plate is perforated with holes. Then we have these fibers, these things that appears like threads. You call them the fine cytoplasmic filaments. These are filaments. Then, outside here, bordering the sieve tube, we have a cell. This is a complete cell. It has the nucleus, it has the mitochondria, you can see several of them, it has Golgi apparatus, it has those endoplasmic reticulum. So this is a cell. So this cell is called a companion cell. So we have a companion cell, companion cell. That is a companion cell. So that is the structure of the phloem tissue. Now we move back, we move down to how is it formed? How is the phloem formed? So during the formation of the phloem, one, the cytoplasm is pushed towards the cell wall, leaving a lumen filled with protein fibrils. So all the cytoplasm here are pushed towards the cell wall. Everything is pushed towards the cell wall. And that will leave a hollow. But that hollow will have threads, which are called cytoplasmic filaments. And then number two, the cross walls between the sieve tubes become perforated. So these cross walls become perforated, meaning at first the cross walls are not perforated. So the second step, they become perforated with holes. And then number three, the protein fibrils form cytoplasmic filaments. So these protein fibrils, protein structures which remains, now form what we call cytoplasmic filaments. Cytoplasmic filaments. And so we have a complete phloem structure. Let us look at now the adaptations. How is this structure modified to perform its function? And its function is translocation. Remember, translocation occurs in both directions. Translocation occurs both upward towards the leaves and then downwards. Meaning the stored food in the roots can move upward to the leaves. The stored food or the manufactured food in the leaves can also move downwards. So one of the adaptations of the phloem is that the phloem has cytoplasmic filaments or protein strands that allow for the flow of synthesized material during translocation. So if we come back this structure. One of the adaptations of this structure is that it has cytoplasmic filaments, this thread-like structure. So normally food materials flow over or on these threads. The food that is translocated is in the form of a solution. So it will flow just downward smoothly over the what? Over these cytoplasmic filaments. That is one adaptation. Another adaptation is that the companion cells normally have numerous mitochondria to produce energy for translocation. So translocation is a process that requires energy. That energy is used in the active transport, which is one of the ways through which substances are translocated within the plant. When you come back to this structure again, this is the companion cell. It has numerous mitochondria, and these numerous mitochondria act as a site where respiration occurs, producing energy in form of ATP for the process of translocation. So we are dealing with the adaptations of the phloem structure. Number 3, the phloem structure has perforated plates. The phloem structure has perforated plates. Those perforated plates can also be called sieve plates. The sieve plates allow the flow of food materials from one sieve tube to the other. So we are saying that the phloem structure has perforated plates. And how are these plates important? These plates allow the food materials to move from one sieve tube. So this is a sieve tube, a sieve tube, a sieve tube. For food to move from one sieve tube to the next, it must pass through the sieve plates. Therefore we can summarize that and say that this structure, which is the phloem, one of the modifications is the presence of the sieve plates. And how are the sieve plates modified? They have small holes, perforations. How are the perforations important? They allow substances to move from one sieve tube to the next, as the materials are translocated. Now, let us move to transport in animals. Transport in animals. Now, transport in animals is somehow different from transport in plants. And in the transport in animals, we talk about the circulatory system, meaning the body of animals is more complex than the body of plants. Your body as a student is more complex compared to the body of plants. Look at the organs that you have in your body. Like when you talk of removal of waste, plants, they only have something like the stomata to remove excess water, and also waste gases like excess oxygen and excess carbon dioxide. What about yourself? Look at the urinary system. You have to remove the urine from your body. And the urine is made in an organ called the kidney. So you find that Your body contains so many organs. The heart, you have the kidney, you have the liver, so many things, the lungs, the brain, all those things makes your body to be complex. And therefore, when we be looking at transporting animals, we will actually find that the movement of substances within the body of an animal is more complex as compared to that plants. So that is the end of our class, and thank you for listening.